What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and today we are back at it again. In the name of fun, intrigue, and curiosity, we are taking every single exotic bow in Destiny 2 and putting them up against the final boss of the Last Wish raid, Riven, to see two different things. Number one, can any of these exotics actually one-phase kill Riven within the cheese? And if not, number two, which one of these exotics is the best for Boss DPS? And so, let's get started. But just before we do, I hear you're looking for some sick new headphones. If that's the case, I've partnered with ASTRO. Check the link in the description down below. Clicking it will automatically apply a code allowing you to save some money and help the channel out. Definition of a win-win. So, bows is an interesting one. We just came out of doing trace rifles, which actually put up some shockingly good damage numbers. Check it out, it's linked up above if you haven't seen some of the other videos. But again, today we're focusing on bows. So let's meet our competitors. Firstly, in terms of the kinetic slot, we have the Wish Ender. Usually I say the OG or back from Curse of Osiris, but bows were added for Forsaken, and so was this. Moving on from there, we have two more in the energy slot. The first one, also from Forsaken, is the Trinity Ghoul. And then lastly, the newest boy on the block from Black Armory, we have the Monarque. So for all of these damage phases, we are using a Well of Radiance, as much Riven's Bane gear as we can put on, and a Titan is using a Melting Point at the beginning of all of them. So let's kick things off here with the Wish Ender. Looking at the perks here, intrinsically it has Queen's Wrath. While aiming down sights with a fully drawn bow, enemies behind walls are highlighted. That is totally pointless in a boss phase scenario. But we do have a few more interesting perks. Firstly, anti-taken fletching, specialized to fight taken targets. If Riven is somehow coded as taken, well, that might come up. But more importantly, we have broadhead, piercing arrowhead that damages the target on entry and exit. One shot can overpenetrate multiple targets. If broadhead is going off against Riven, especially when you're hitting that crit, this could put forth some serious damage. Well, does it? And as you can see, against Riven, it's actually pretty decent, and putting forth, for a very slow shooting bow, a pretty reasonable amount of damage. And looking at the damage numbers, you can see just that. Pretty much all of us were well over 500,000 damage, with a few of us almost hitting that 800,000 damage threshold. And that's better than basically every single exotic auto rifle in the game except for the Cerberus +1. So again, for a bow, that's not bad. But there's another question. There, we were fully drawing the bow and releasing it every single time. What if we just spam fire? If we don't worry about drawing, we're just shooting as many arrows as we possibly can. Is that actually going to do more damage in the long run for a damage phase? Well, we tested that out. And as you can see, spam firing as fast as we could actually did less damage overall, considerably less damage. No one crossed the 600,000 damage threshold, and that's somewhat surprising. I think the reason is because when you are not fully drawing, broadhead is not triggering, so you're not getting anywhere near the damage potential as a full draw. But it is time to move on from there to the Trinity Ghoul. This has the exotic intrinsic perk Split Electron. Fires an arrow that splits when released. Aiming down sights and fully drawing the bow both decrease the spread. On top of that, it has another unique perk, Lightning Rod. Precision kills grant the next shot chain lightning capabilities. Essentially, if you get a precision kill with this weapon, then you shoot it again at a group of enemies, it's going to chain between all of them and kill, an entire group of thralls. Is that at all going to come up in a damage phase? Well, let's try it out. Now, to get that chain lightning, we did all get a precision kill on a Scion and then just wait with that fully electrified shot. So we got at least one shot. That opening shot did have that chain lightning. We were kind of worried that it might chain to the eyes, and we were like, oh my goodness, are we going to have to restart this? But turns out that's not the case, and if there's any extra damage to be had, it's not really noticeable, because you can see from the damage numbers, considerably less, just all of us got in the 300,000 damage. No one crossed even 400,000 damage, and that kind of shows just that you have a very slow drawing bow that doesn't do very much damage. It doesn't have that broadhead perk to activate. This thing is firmly in last place. But again, we have the question of spam firing, especially because, if it doesn't have broadhead, is spam firing actually going to be the way to go with a Trinity Ghoul? Well, as you can see, we tried it out. The problem here is that the 3 arrows actually split kind of far apart, and so it's hard to hit all 3 of them perfectly in the crit, but we did our absolute best, and as you can see, yet again, somewhat surprisingly, spam firing does less than full draw. And this is something, I heard that when it comes to Boss DPS, you actually want to spam fire bows, but it turns out from the numbers we're getting, that's just not true. Or is it an exception with our next competitor here, the Monarque? So, this weapon has the exotic intrinsic perk, Poison Arrows. Arrows fired quickly after a full draw become poison arrows. Precision hits with poison arrows spread poison to nearby enemies. So, just like the Thorn, and in fact this is basically the bow version of the Thorn, if you hit a precision shot, you inflict extra damage over time. So that should put this weapon in the lead when it comes to just a normal, legendary bow that doesn't have this damage over time effect, right? Well, as you can see, against Riven, it doesn't work at all. Just like the Thorn, for whatever reason, Riven is not susceptible to damage over time effects, and therefore it was just a normal fast shooting bow. And as you can see, the damage numbers do reflect that. Now, funny enough, the damage numbers were actually more so, in fact one person got quite a bit more so, than the Trinity Ghoul. And so that means that the Monarque is just straight out damaging it when it comes to full draw. But of course, we do have one more test spam firing the Monarque, and this is actually a really important test because we don't have broadhead, it's not splitting into 3 arrows really widely, it's just a normal bow. So this is kind of the nail in the coffin to the theory that spam firing is better for DPS if this underperforms. And as you can see, when looking at the damage numbers, it actually does. Pretty much everyone, including myself, got less damage than before, and our highest damage number was just straight less than it was previously with the full draw. That's a really interesting result. Spam firing just does not do the same amount of damage over time that normal full draw firing does. At least that's the case with all 3 of these exotic bows. There may be a legendary one that's the exception to that, but there you have it. And so, in conclusion, the leader by a wide margin in terms of Boss DPS is the Wishender with a full draw. In second place is still the Wishender with spam firing, and then after that, it's actually the Monarque with a full draw, then the Trinity Ghoul with a full draw, and then in the last 2 places we have the Monarque and then Trinity Ghoul spam firing. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, found this interesting. If you did, please remember to help the video out by simply rating and especially sharing it. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCactus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.